Hey everyone, welcome to a Q&A lesson that I have for you. So, my name is Wes. This is Interactive English, and today I want to take some of your questions and just interact with all of you guys. That's what this is all about. And again, even if you don't have any questions, that's okay. It's always good to practice your listening comprehension and just get more and more exposure to the language. That is very important. So I just want to say a quick hello to everybody who's here. Hello, Faisal, Mohammed, Vicky, Gustav, Sophia, Sleepwalker, Estella, Min, Aziza, Rosalinda, Red Green. How are you? Jamil. So I will try and get some more shout outs in there a little later on. So again, I want to take some of your questions today. If you have questions related to vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, even personal questions, everything, it's fair game, okay? And again, that's a good expression. If you say that something is fair game, it just means that it's okay, that you can do this thing, it's acceptable, all right? So write your questions in the chat, and I'll just try to go get to as many as I can. The only thing I would say is try to keep them a little more specific because if it's too broad, it becomes more difficult to answer. So when I say specific, if it's like, well, how do you pronounce this word? Or what does this word mean? Or something specific related to grammar, that's the only thing that I'd say. All right, so the first thing I want to do is apologize also because there have been some technical difficulties, and I know that you guys have been bearing with me through all of this, and I appreciate it, and I'm still working on getting through that. And again, that's another good phrase, to bear with someone. It means that you are being patient and you are enduring this problem, this hardship. So I can say, yes, you are bearing with me through these internet problems. So the first question, oh, Sophia just asked a simple one, all right, an easy one. How are you and your family doing? We are doing really well. Our little girl, Amelia, turned one. She turned one a couple of days ago, so we had a nice little celebration. I've been trying to take a little break these last few days to have a little more family time. We went to the zoo. It was a great trip, but now I'm kind of starting again to really focus and hone in on interactive English and the things we want to do this year and accomplish, like video courses and some other little surprises, okay? So let's see. Hello, you guys saying, all right. Okay, so Ladan asks, again, talking about uses of far. For example, he's saying far and so far and as far as. So it's the same word, you're using far, but they take on different meanings. So for example, the first one, I think often you say that something is far. It's an adjective, it's talking about a distance, all right? So something is located far. The distance between here and there, you could say, well, it's far. Today, we have to run far. Actually, it's an adverb because you're talking about the distance that you are moving, you're going. So that is far alone. If somebody's saying so far, usually they would say this casually and speak when they're speaking, and all it means so far is the same meaning as like up until now. All right, so up until now, something has been happening, and that's what you would use, like, oh, so far. I could say, so far, the lesson, I think it's kind of working. I notice that it's still freezing, so I could say, well, so far, it's okay, but I still think some internet problems exist at this moment. That's why you hear maybe another expression people might say, so far, so good. Up until now, everything, it's going okay. It's going well. So far, so good. So that is a good expression to know. Excellent. Great question. Sophia asked how to use the word ought. This is a modal, and it's kind of instead of like saying you have to, you should. So you ought to. So for example, I would say that I can only speak. I think in American English, it's not as common. Most people would tell somebody like. You should do this, like giving using that modal of advice, or you have to do this. But it's the same as saying you ought to do this. I think in that case, it's closely related to should. You're giving somebody advice, telling them something that you think they should do. You ought to do this. You ought to do this thing. So I could say, oh, you ought to study English a little bit each and every day. I'm telling you the thing that you should do. I can't really speak for British English and how common it is, but when you're learning those modals, I think it's common you would learn, you should, you ought to, you have to. They fall in that family. Shamad asks, what is the meaning as of now? So if somebody says the expression, again, as of now, it's also, again, similar to so far or up until now. As of now, up until this point, something has happened. So basically, you're wanting to highlight some information and really say like, okay, at this moment, something hasn't changed. As of now, I'm still having problems with my internet connection. As of now. So you can think of it that way. Heather asks, do you pronounce? I say Chicago. So I think it more that CH would have an SH sound. Chicago. That's how I would pronounce it. I can't really think of any accents or people, places, because America is it's a big country. People pronounce words differently, but I think Chicago is universally with that SH sound, Chicago. Nobody's really pronouncing it with that CH. Let's see. Mohammed says, sir, do you believe to be specific reading novels is the best way for rapid progression? What I think, I would take away novels and just say reading. I think reading is incredibly useful for improving your English skills, because when you're reading, you are practicing your grammar, you're practicing vocabulary. It's something that you can do at your speed, because when you're having a conversation or you're listening to me right now, some people might think, well, this is too fast. Others might say, well, you speak, it's too slow. I get that a lot. I've been teaching English for a long time, and I think in general, I've just slowed down my speech. So reading, you can do it at your speed. You can stop and look up information. You can go back and try to understand what was going on. So it's really great for improving your overall comprehension. And because of that, it's going to complement the other skills. It's going to complement your listening skills and improve your comprehension. It's going to complement your speaking skills, because the next time you want to use a word or a phrase or use the grammar correctly, you have already seen it, or you've already understood how it's used correctly from the book. So I wouldn't say just a novel. I think that is up to you, whether you enjoy reading newspapers or novels or short stories or poems. I would just encourage all of you to read as much as you can. Let's see. And again, sorry if I miss questions. I'm just going to go through some that I spot. Alexander says, could you have a class about vocabulary for call centers, please? Interesting. All right. I'll keep that in mind. I'm always on the lookout for new vocabulary lessons. And the way that I'm doing this, the way that I've been doing it lately is trying to present vocabulary based on a topic and try to walk through it. So for example, all right, spoiler alert, this Tuesday it's a vocabulary lesson. It's all about airport and flying vocabulary. But the way I'm going to try and present it is though that we are taking a flight. We're starting at the beginning of the trip and we're going to go over some vocabulary. And then once we get on the plane and do some vocabulary, and then once we land and do that vocabulary, so that you can try to identify with what's happening and think about your own experience when you're flying and really connect those words to it. I think that helps a lot. So let me think about the call center and how that might be possible. That's interesting. Mahmoud says, you've been super helpful. Thank you. I'm glad that these lessons are useful. And again, this with this live stream, I want to keep doing it. I'm very frustrated that I've been having these problems lately. And again, I notice it's still freezing. I don't know why. I got a new computer, but I don't think that's it, because we had lessons earlier this month that were perfectly okay, and I'm not really sure what the issue is. All right, so let's see. Lali asks, please tell the difference between achieve and accomplish. Honestly, I feel like achieve and accomplish, I think they're very similar in their meaning, talking about being able to succeed at something. So you often hear those words used when talking about goals, and you want to achieve your goals or accomplish your goals. In that sense, they can be used interchangeably, and you're talking about just wanting success. So I think it's just a matter of when you might use those. And I'm trying to think of some better examples as to how they may not be interchangeable. I think in many instances, you could use either or. And this is when it goes back to reading, because I think as the more exposure you get to the language, you'll start to see which words are used in which situations and with other words and phrases, and it just starts to sink in. So you can achieve your goals, you can accomplish your goals. I want to, one thing I would say, I feel like if you're talking about a project, I feel like then like maybe accomplish, or if you're talking about something in the past that you did, I feel like that might be more often used in the past if you're talking about something that was accomplished in the past. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Otherwise, I'd say they're very similar, and you could almost think of them as synonyms. Let's see what else we have. I'm trying to think. Michelle Leonardo, what does I helped myself mean? Is it an American idiom? So if somebody says like I helped myself, you usually help yourself to something. And I would often say that it's used when talking about food. So if somebody says, well, I helped myself, it just means I did it myself. So this could be seen, yes, as an idiom that you did something yourself. When I say that it's often used when talking about food, somebody, maybe there's food out on the table, and you could say, well, I helped myself to some cake. I didn't wait for somebody to get the cake for me. I just went and got it, and you'd say, I helped myself. So I think when you might often hear it used, just for your comprehension, if somebody invites you somewhere and there's food out, there's drinks, somebody might say to you, they say, help yourself, which means that, hey, you can go get it. Nobody's going to bring it to you. You help yourself. But if you're saying, I helped myself, then you're just telling somebody that you did it on your own. All right. Good question. That's a good one. Let's see. Angela asks, does hold it mean wait? Yes. But I feel like hold it is often used more kind of like as a command, like telling wait, hold it, like stop what you're doing. In that case. So it wouldn't say like, for example, not all of these phrases are interchangeable. And I think this is where vocabulary becomes challenging, because I could say hold it means like wait, in the sense of like, wait, stop what you're doing. Don't do anything else. Hold it. Or they might say hold up. But you would not substitute this for any meaning of wait. Like I'd say, "Oh, I'm waiting for my friend." You would not use hold it in that sense. So when I think of hold it, it's more like, okay, stop what you're doing, wait, don't do anything else. Just hold it. But I think maybe hold up maybe is something maybe I might use a little bit more, but it just means stop what you're doing. Let's see, what else do we have? When we use it is and is it. Again, this would be an example. It is would be a simple declarative sentence. You're making a statement. I could say that, maybe I'm talking about my phone. I'd say, well, it is an iPhone. When you're asking a question, that interrogative, that's when you might switch around, inverse the subject and the verb. And I'd ask a question and say, is it an iPhone? So as a question, that if you're saying is would come first. Is it an iPhone? And then I'd say, yes, it is an iPhone. It's an older iPhone, an iPhone 6. I decided to upgrade my computer before upgrading the phone. What else do we have? Let's see. Esther asked, what is the meaning of to go above and beyond? This is an expression that means you do more than what is expected of you. And often I think it's used in the context of work or maybe school, when especially work, and you'd say, well, this employee, they did more than they really had to do. This employee went above and beyond. They did more than they had to do. So I think it's often you're going to use it, or you will hear it being used in a work environment when you're talking about somebody who did more than what was expected, to go above and beyond. Let's see, from Gustav, what's the meaning of shilly-shally? Honestly, I'm not really sure of this expression. Shilly-shally. I'm not sure which part, because I know you're in the US. If that is a regional expression, but I'm a little unfamiliar with it. But because I have the internet right here, I just looked it up. I'm going to learn something new. It means to to fail to act decisively. That you, I guess, maybe to hesitate. Shilly-shally, it's a verb, to shilly-shally. I'd say, I think it's more of an informal expression. I don't know if it would be used in an academic sense. Now I know what I'm thinking of. I think of the word, maybe it's similar to dilly-dally. You could also say to dither. To dilly-dally is an expression. It's also very informal. Maybe it could be considered slang, is kind of like to basically you're doing nothing. You haven't made a decision. You don't know what you're going to do. You're just going to, people would say, stop dilly-dallying. Stop doing nothing. But shilly-shally, it's saying to fail to act. Interesting. I'm gonna have to look and see how if I can find other context being used. Let's see. Amin asks how to speak usually. I mean, how to say that word, that adverb usually, that adverb of frequency, which means like 75% of the time. Let's see. I'm trying to think of. I'm sorry, it's like flipping through these. Question about the passive Farad. Is there a question about the passive voice? Is there a passive form for the present continuous? Can you convert this sentence to passive? I've been waiting for you since this morning. I've been waiting for you. You have been waiting for, I have been waiting for you. You have been waiting for me? I have been waiting. You have been waiting. I guess, no, I don't know. That's, No, I don't. Most of the time, I'd say when you're talking about passive and active voice, one thing you should realize is that most times when you are writing something or when you're speaking, you're going to use the active voice because it's straightforward, it's more direct. There are only certain instances when you would want to use the passive voice. I know that when you take English classes and teachers like me will get up there and they say, let's change sentences to the passive. And it's more so practicing to see if you understand it. Bear in mind that you do use the passive voice for certain situations, like when the person doing the action or the subject may not be known, or maybe when they don't want to say the sentence. For example, I always think of, like I say, we made mistakes. All right, we made mistakes. Many people don't want to confess and say that, we made mistakes. So they would make it passive and they want to take that we out there and they would just say, mistakes were made. We don't know who. They're not going to say mistakes were made by us. They just take that part out and they'd say mistakes were made. So off the top of my head, can't think about changing that one. I've been waiting for you since this morning. I think if you wanted to actually say that and use that in a conversation or you're writing it, stick with the active. That's much better. So that's again, keep that in mind. You're going to use active most of the time. There's just certain situations. Mahmoud said, do or go boxing. I'd say you wouldn't do boxing. There are certain sports that you're just going to say like I like boxing. Like somebody say like I like this activity. I like ping pong. I like swimming. All right, you're not going to use do with those. You could say go if you're talking about that you are actually going to do this in the future. And you say, I'm going to go boxing. In that case, you wouldn't say like I'm going boxing. No. I just say I will go boxing or I'm going to go boxing, which is a little different because if somebody says swimming, many people would say, yeah, I'm going swimming. This is what I'm going to do. So again, I would think of boxing, forget about do and go, and just think of it on its own. Let's see. Complex gerunds, please. That's something that's a little bigger topic. Maybe this, again, getting good ideas for possible live lessons later. I know often I like to do grammar with some of these live streams, and the reason for that is because you can do a deeper dive, you can do a lot of practice and examples. So it's always good if you have other questions, once the video gets posted, write to me in the comments because I love getting suggestions from all of you. It really tells me what you're interested in and, good lessons that I could try to put together and answer some of these questions. Let's see. Shrewd. All right. Aiden was asking shrewd. There's just one shrewd. Shrewd. It's one syllable. Shrewd. Shrewd. Yeah, that is a difficult one. So just talking about the pronunciation of shrewd. And if somebody is shrewd, in case you don't know, that is an adjective. And it means that they are, I'd say almost like somebody is cunning and even like a little deceptive, and they're just like they're really looking out for themselves. Like somebody is shrewd. Makes me think of somebody who might be in a competition with somebody else, and usually when people are competing against each other, they may be a bit shrewd. That they're thinking about just winning, and that causes them to be a little shrewd. Let's see. Hi, Teacher Kamal. What does it mean? Someone don't be saying, especially be in the sentence. Stefko says, what does it mean? Don't be saying. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like, if you're saying that for somebody not to say something, I think it'd be more common that somebody say you should not say, you shouldn't say. Don't be saying, I don't think, to me that sounds a little awkward, but somebody may use it in order to kind of like maybe stand out and try to put emphasis on something. But to me, it just sounds awkward. I'd say like you shouldn't say this. You shouldn't say, or just say like don't say. I think this is where sometimes like people will insert the verb to be in some cases when it's not needed. Also, when I think it's kind of just like breaking rules, especially when it comes to stative verbs, and people will talk about like I am liking or I am loving. Grammatically, that's not what you should be doing, but people will tend to break those rules. Let's see. Let's see. He's asked about somebody who's asked it hitherto. Let's see. Fatima asks. So hitherto, again, I feel like this is something that it's a word you're going to encounter more in reading. I don't think it's a word that's often used in just casual conversation. Maybe if you're giving a presentation and it's a little more formal, but it's an adverb and it just means that like until now, all right? Until now, this has happened. So we've been talking a lot about those phrases like hitherto, so far. But again, it's a word that you're going to find more in writing. If it's something, maybe you're reading a book, but it's not something you might use as in spoken English. Let's see. Can the phrasal verb to pile on be used in a figurative way? To pile on. So, yeah, well, I mean, to pile on means when I think of that phrasal verb being used, that people are kind of picking on somebody. One person is picking on another, and then everybody else starts doing it, and people start piling on. It's almost like in the literal way, people are piling on, they're jumping on top of this person. But I'd say in the figurative way, its meaning is that, like that you're not literally jumping on this person, but you're piling on, whether you are teasing them, you are saying something, bad about them, or maybe you're just reminding them of something bad. Like there's all this maybe bad things going on, and then you tell somebody else, like, hey, oh, you forgot about this bad thing. You're like, oh, there's no need to pile on. So let's see. Fulia asks, what is the difference between usage of due to and because of? Due to and because of, I think you can use those interchangeably when you're talking about those phrases. I think that I would say that both of them are common in spoken English. I think in writing, due to is a little more formal to me. So if you're talking about academic writing, I think it's a little more formal, a little more appropriate to say due to, that something it's caused by this other thing. If I'm just speaking to you in spoken English, I'd say, because of the rain, we couldn't go outside today. But if I could say due to as well, means the same thing, but to me it just sounds a little more informal, like, oh, due to the rain, we couldn't go outside today. So I think in that context, I think because of might be used a little more informally in just casual spoken English. All right, so I want to let you guys know, again, if you want to continue connecting with us, you can join our community right here and connect with us via email if you haven't already. I just put a post in the link right there. You can join our email list because, again, it's a good way to connect with us. You can access the secret fluency lesson, and we will send you some updates about things that are happening and things that are changing. And again, if you're just looking to practice your English, it's a great way to practice your reading because we'll send you emails from time to time and you can read through them. They're not very long. And we don't send, I try not to overdo it. I don't send messages every single day, but maybe once every, 1 or 2 weeks. And it's still something we're trying to kind of figure out. And again, you can always connect with us on Patreon. There is a link in the description if you want to check that out. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this little Q&A. I want to continue doing it each month. It's a great way to connect with you, to learn about some of your needs, the things that you guys want to learn, as well as the questions that you have. And it's just a nice way to connect. I apologize for some of the internet issues. I'm going to keep working at this and see what we can figure out so that we can continue doing this, because I want this to be flawless. All right. I want it to go very smoothly. So I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. If there are other questions that I didn't get to answer, the video will get posted. Please write to me in the comments. I will try to answer them, or I will keep that in mind for a future lesson, because always on the lookout for things for new lessons to create. So thank you for joining me, Lolly, Chan, Ladan, Aiden. Good to see you. Mary, sorry I didn't answer your question. Write it in the comments, and I'll have a look at that. Michelle, thank you guys for joining me today. Stefko, Fulia, let's see, Farat, Esther, Richard, Jamila, Luca. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next time. So long.